Hi, I'm Drew.
And I'm Sam.
And welcome to Drewling Samantics.
There you are. How you doing? All right.
Hey, Sam. Sorry, I'm here, mate. I'm here. I remembered to turn up.
Speaking of remembering, I remembered something really important.
Oh, tell me.
Numbers.
Oh, yes. Yes. Oh, I bet this has got to be worth waiting for. Tell me.
We're either about to entertain people beyond belief, or, and this is more likely, I'm about to make people wish they'd never tuned in and go, what the hell is wrong with you? How can you find these numbers interesting? We don't really care. We'll see what happens. Either way,
I'm looking forward to this.
But yeah, you hadn't even remembered, and now you're looking for. But anyway,
no, I know now. I know.
Yes. So
Memory
back
jogged.
in our first episode of this season, I said that anyone who was brand new and joining us probably could go back and watch or listen to every single episode that we've ever done. So 165 episodes of Drewling Samantics from day dot through to the end of season 11, because we just started season 12. And then I got in my head, as I tend to, and thought, could you actually do that? So I didn't set a challenge because I know no one was going to do it, but set a theoretical challenge. That could you have finished watching the first episode of season 12, then gone back and watched or listened to every single one of the 165 previous episodes in time to then be ready for season 12, episode 2, where we had obviously the lovely Jonathan Carlton with us. It was brilliant. So if you haven't watched that one, go back, watch last week's episode. But before we do that, listen to this, because this took me a while, as you can probably imagine, and it's completely pointless, but it made me smile, and I said I was going to do it, and I'm not a man to go back on my word. So yes, so I worked out that if you'd gone away from season 12, episode 1, listened through to that, which is released at 5 o'clock on a Sunday, and it was about, what was our first episode? About 40 minutes long, let's say. If the minute that stopped, you started listening to Drewling Samantics, Season 1, Episode 1, and you continued watching, and, get this, and you had a 3-hour break to sleep every night.
Oh, that's nice. Okay.
Yeah, I'm generous. You would manage to finish Season 11, Episode 15, about 2 or 3 minutes before Season 12, Episode 2 started. And that's with 3 hours sleep each night. For those that are interested, and that's, well, probably just me, but just in case there is someone else.
I need the numbers.
Here we go. Some facts and figures coming your way, mate. If you listened to Drewling Samantics non-stop, did not have a break whatsoever, for the first 11 seasons in total, all 165 episodes, it would have taken you 5 days, 2 hours, 36 minutes, and 20 seconds.
Good grief.
Or, if you prefer, that's 122.6 hours. Or, if you prefer, it's 7,536.3 minutes, or 441,380 seconds.
Good grief.
Isn't that amazing? So that is how much crap we have subjected people to.
We've spouted for 5 days. Good Lord.
Yeah, just over 5 days we've been taking the piss, chatting, talking rubbish, but equally a big chunk of that is listening to much more important and more fascinating people than us, because we've had a lot of guests in that time.
That is true. That is
So
true.
yes, so 10, what have we had? 40 plus a couple of, about 60 odd guests now, I think. So you can probably apportion a good day or two of those 5 days to really interesting topics and fascinating people. The rest is just you and me making a lot of noise, getting in the way. But the one thing I will say, and I will stop talking about numbers now because I'm sure I've bored a lot of people to death, is we always set out, when we first started the pod, we said, we did a bit of research and we were like, right, people want to listen for about 40, 45 minutes. Sometimes they'll listen a bit longer, particularly with a guest. So we targeted those episodes at roughly an hour. And the ones with us, we targeted at roughly 30 minutes. And we looked for the averages between and tried to find a happy medium. If you took the entire total of time from the first episode of season 1 to the last episode of season 11, divided it by 165, our average is almost exactly 45 minutes.
No.
We have achieved what we set out to. Well, we haven't achieved what we set out to do. That wasn't the challenge. It wasn't.
That wasn't the challenge, but that's extraordinary.
Amazing, isn't it? Alternatively, my maths is all completely wrong. Someone's going to contact us and go, "You're talking shit. Shut up. You're wrong. You've got it." Yeah.
I mean, if Professor Brian Cox is listening, and I'm sure he is because I listen to his podcast, he may well correct. He may well correct us.
Right.
He may well say that all that time you've spent is we're looking to the future, looking to the past. We're in another dimension. I don't know, but I mean, I think it's extraordinary. I love those figures, and even more than that, I love the fact that you probably had such a good time doing that, haven't you?
Don't make me seem more sad than I already am.
No, I know, but I know how good you are with figures and stuff like that. So I know that the analytical mind
there's a bit
enjoyed
of
itself.
in front of me. I'm not
So, mate,
but
it might only be a cup. It might only be a cup of coffee, but I'm going to raise my Drewling Samantics mug to you and say, well done on that.
If that hasn't made people need a drink, I don't know what does. So cheers.
Oh, there's yours. Oh, and as you slurp your beer, that reminds me of something. Because do you remember a couple of weeks ago, you and I visited a pub, not for a drink or any relaxation purposes. We were working together. Do you not remember?
Oh, sorry, when you say pub, you mean like within a hotel?
Within a hotel. Yes, a bar.
We went to the pub. How much did I drink that I don't remember being in the pub with you? But no, I do remember that.
Yes, and it was a bar in a hotel. Yeah.
If you'll remember rightly, we said we would do some recording there and then come back at a later date and revisit that and find out what we were doing, why we were doing it, etc. Yeah, we did that, didn't we?
And we did. And we have some I think quite insightful things to say, given the fact that we were standing in a bar. It could have been very dangerous.
I'll believe that when I see or hear it. So why don't we check it out?
Let's do it.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone.
And welcome to, where are we?
We're at the George in Huntingdon.
Yes, beautiful hotel. Lovely surrounding area, really nice setup here, and we've just had some really great grub. One of the perks of doing what we do.
Also, we've been given a bar as our change room and green room. Somebody didn't work that one.
No. So anyone watching on YouTube, that's why we're stood in a bar, not just that we're having a drink, which we are. But
water. Look at that.
Yeah, we're working.
Adam's ale, that is. Because we're working.
I don't think you've ever seen me do that before.
Well, I've seen you hold up an empty glass.
Yeah, exactly that. But we thought we'd do a little bit of on the scenes or behind the scenes, whatever you want to call it, on location stuff. We talked about doing that a bit more this season, and we essentially wanted to do it because this is a little bit of a significant show for the pair of us for different reasons, isn't it?
Well, it's a significant show for me because we're doing an Hello dinner show, interactive dinner show. I've done this show twice before. So this is a new script and a fairly new character for me. So I've had to do a little bit of work on this one. But Sam, it is not new for you at all, is it?
It's not, but I haven't done it for a while. So you're coming to this as fresh-faced and new, which I don't think I've ever described. But actually, possibly got a leg up on me because you've done it more recently, whereas I've done it a bit before.
Yeah.
But not for a long time. So we've sort of had to address it in very different ways. For me, going back over the script was refamiliarising. I was looking back over stuff, picking bits up, remembering little special gags or certain different bits that I've done beyond the script and picking those up. Whereas for you, it's almost develop your own edge to it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, obviously I've got the reference. I'm playing Renee, and I've got the reference of the series and Gordon Kay's amazing performance. But obviously it's a script and it's a new take on Hello. So coming at it as I would a new play. a new piece of writing. You learn it, you work on it. As I say, I've watched the episodes. I was a fan. I did like it. So so I'm creating something. Sam said I'm creating a new character, new for me, and Sam's playing catch up on
essentially
what you did in the past.
Exactly that. But I think the main sort of element of doing these shows is that we are paying homage to the incredible actors, as you said, Gordon Kay, who played Renee originally. We're not trying to sort of send them up. Do you know what I mean? We're not trying to rip them off. We're also not trying to do a parody in the sense of making them look silly. We are just taking some of their incredible skills and the things they did with these characters and bringing them back to life for the audiences.
It's the essence of the character, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's what people said, like, Renee, you stupid woman. They're going to expect me to say that to Edith, my wife. So you put that in, obviously. But it is, as Sam said, they're not impressions. It's the essence of the characters. And the audiences who come to see these shows, as we know, are big fans of the original shows. And they're going to want what they recognise. But we take what they recognise and we develop another scenario.
Yeah, it's embellishing on top, isn't it? And what you don't try and do is completely turn it into your own thing, because again, people aren't here for that. When you do any of these famous characters, when you have these opportunities, you have to give those moments that people are really there for.
Yeah.
That there are famous lines and famous moments in shows all through the year. I mean, to give a random example, The Importance of Being Earnest, a show that I've done numerous times. I know you've been involved in it before. The line that everyone expects in that is a handbag.
Exactly.
To not do that line would seem almost nonsensical to me, because people are looking for that. It doesn't base the whole show on it, but that is a moment that people love and are familiar with.
It's right. I mean, you can't have a handbook without to be or not to be, because people are expecting that moment, and it's integral to the part. And these classic comedies, they are classics, and for audiences coming back and seeing it again, they want those classic lines. You stupid woman, a handbag, whatever. They are to be or not to be lines, so they've got to be there.
And you get to make the most of Renee's catchphrases. I get to make the most of various different characters and their little moments. And what we'll do is we are going to now do an incredible transformation. For those of you watching on YouTube, so currently you can see we are certainly not in costume, but we will come back in 1 second in costume. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Look at that! A transformation. If you're not watching on YouTube, just to explain, Drew has grown a moustache and is now dressed as a French waiter. Slightly slimmer and shorter than Gordon Kay's version.
A little bit trimmer, but I am more Leo now.
Yes, and I am dressed as a German soldier, as you do. This is work, right?
What else would you be doing on a Saturday evening?
Well, exactly.
Yeah.
But we wanted to come back and just do a little bit more chatting about what we're doing. We talked many months ago in the previous season about dinner theatre and how integral it is to the work that we do, how it became sort of a regularity, how we met. But things certainly changed because of the unwelcome guest, and although we talked about it before, even since then and since things sort of recovering slightly, it's become a dying art, I think, dinner theatre. So to explain exactly what we're doing, we do scripted scenes based around homage British comedies, in this case Hello Hello, where we bring back to life the famous characters that everyone loved and adored, and there's a storyline based around a 3-course meal where the guests come along, they eat their meal, amongst that things happen, they see silly things occur, and it's all this immersive experience where everything is happening around, so they feel like they are actually in Renee's cafe having a meal while these silly things are happening.
Well, yeah, but if you imagine an hour-long episode interspersed with dinner, that's basically what it is. Or an hour-long dinner interspersed with an episode of Hello Hello.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Imagine you're at home eating your dinner and some idiots keep coming and interrupting you. That's essentially what we do.
What it is.
And they pay their money for it.
And they love it.
So, we're not really selling this very well. But it, unfortunately, is a dying art. I think with streaming services and TV being a different style these days, older things, although they're accessible, people don't really watch them in the same way. It's not like going back and watching those channels that always used to repeat things, but they just don't get the viewing figures anymore. So
these are becoming, I would say, certainly less frequent, these opportunities.
Although, I mean, there was a big arc of these shows of dinner theatre, because these shows weren't around. But soon as streaming services and live theatre clashed, streaming services and live theatre kind of killed off the golden goose. So, but you will notice more and more that interactive shows and site-specific shows, they're becoming incredibly popular with things like War of the Worlds and Peaky Blinders, Taskmaster, Monopoly game in London. So
Paddington,
all those experiences. Those are becoming. We've made that kind of interactive stuff. These shows have made it incredibly popular, and those shows are taking it one step further.
We're seeing the industry change, and it's not necessarily for the worse. We miss a lot of the things that we can't do anymore, or that there isn't the call for. But we are seeing it grow and adapt, and we're making the most of that as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, the demand for this style of theatre may well have diminished a little, but theatre and actors and live performance is following trends. As I say, those interactive shows are becoming incredibly popular with very large audiences. So as Sam said, we are learning to adapt all the time, and certainly adapt to include those shows.
But having said that, if you do get the opportunity to come and take part in or see one of these shows, we can highly recommend it, not just because we're in them and we want there to be an audience, but genuinely it's probably one of the final forms of old style interactive theatre that still exists. And companies that do these things need supporting. We need the numbers coming in. And actually, it's a cracking night out, and you normally get some great grub.
I was going to say, good food, good wine, and a good laugh. What more could you ask for?
What more could you ask for, other than for your actors to actually get out and start the show, which we probably should.
We probably should.
So thank you for joining us here in wherever we are.
The George in Huntingdon.
And head back now to the studio to see whatever else is going on with Sam and Drew. The art fest. Yeah. All right. We'll see you soon. Cheers.
Goodbye.
Well, it's not often, Drew, that you're right, or that I admit you're right anyway. But I have to say that past Drew and Sam did actually have some insightful and interesting things to talk about there.
I don't know. I mean, quite apart from the fact that, as we said, that was quite well. You know, we hadn't worked together for some time, and that was great to get back together. Well, we were looking forward to the show. We were enjoying ourselves. We were in a bar, which helps. But I mean, it is interesting, isn't it? Because this past week, Halloween week, I've been doing some shows at the Watermill, the venue, interactive shows, and it has become a very large aspect and sideline of the business, the interactive and dinner theatre. And we've been, you and I have been involved with the dinner theatre side, interactive dinner theatre for quite some time, and we know how that has ups and downs, and as you mentioned, the unwelcome guest kind of changed where theatre sat and where people's people would how they wanted to receive their entertainment. But I think I'm going to because you mentioned that subject matter is very important, and the shows that we do hark back on and are a homage to great classic TV comedy, British TV comedy. And that whole thing, as you rightly said, that's changed the writing of comedy, and I suppose people's sensitivities towards certain subjects. People have backed off that tradition. I mean, Hello is a whole show about taking the mickey out of the Germans, the English, the war. That whole thing is a wonderful comedic, and I always see it as kind of an anti-war, but also how, even though there was that great divide between nations, how comedy knitted people together. We laughed at and with those people, and it's a kind of cathartic. It was a kind of healing thing. A little bit like Dad's Army, around the subject of war. But that kind of warm-hearted comedy, dealing with subjects that nowadays people go, "Oh, you can't say that and do that." That is dying. I think that's it's been written out a little bit, and comedy that's written now, I'm not saying it's any, it's not as funny or anything like that, but it doesn't lend itself to a dinner theatre situation.
No, I think times have obviously changed quite substantially. As you say, I think as people we are more sensitive to certain things and we try and be more accepting of certain elements. And there's less, or there are attempts at less insulting behavior towards certain things, I think. I mean, you only have to look at stand-up comedians and look at the style of stuff to find that blue comedians and those who sort of look at race and other things, they're not quite so mainstream. They're not quite so in your face anymore. They still exist. There are lots of people out there that do very funny things based around those, but their audiences know what they're going to see and they choose to accept that. It's not maybe so at the forefront of comedy.
Well, they're kind of the shock jocks, aren't they? The Ricky Gervaises and the Frankie Boyles and Jimmy Carrs. They are there. As you say, people know what they're going to get. You go to see someone like that, you're either going to sit there and go, "Oh, I'm not offended," and a lot of jokes about not being offended. But I think they're kind of like, well, there is this comedy and we're doing it, and then there's all the other stuff that offends no one. That is
it's
good,
a separate
solid
area.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that situation comedy or TV comedies have had to take that into account and maybe swerve away from that a bit. I guess I was going to say, do you think that comedy now isn't as empathetic? And I don't mean that. Do you think that, so if we took something like Only Fools and Horses, for example, it was a comedy, it was about a situation that probably wouldn't exist to the extremes that it did, but there were elements that almost every person could go, I know someone like that. I remember when something similar to that happened. The same with Fawlty Towers. Like Fawlty Towers, John Cleese famously talks about in one of his stand-up shows, was based, or Basil Fawlty was based on a real person and his behaviours. Now, obviously, again, it's exaggerated, and there are elements in that are so ridiculous they couldn't possibly exist in real life. But part of its humour, part of its charm was that people could go, I can see that happening, or that seems feasible, or I have memories, or I know a situation similar to that. I was going to say, do you think that exists now in modern comedies? Or do you think it's gone a slightly different route? Or maybe do you think that the things we're now empathizing with or finding familiar aren't as simplistic as they were then? I don't know.
I think you've hit something there. I do think we laugh at different things now, and comedy isn't it doesn't have targets as much now. Do you know what I mean? I mean, if you think of obvious programs like Love Thy Neighbour and Till Death Us Do Part, where you've got someone who is, but in today's terms, a racist or has, anti-national opinions, whatever. There were targets in comedy then. I don't know. We had a discussion a while ago. I said actually, someone falling over is quite funny, but it's nowadays people go, "Oh, you can't laugh at that." I think our sensibilities are such that we do filter, and we do think about, what can I laugh at that or can I not? Am I offended by that? Am I not? And everybody's humour is. It's a personal thing. I think what two things actually about past comedy. It was the way we watched as a nation, as a group of people. 15 million people would sit down and watch Fawlty Towers, and then you would discuss it the next day.
Yeah.
Nowadays you don't have to do that. You don't have to wait until Sunday night, Friday night, Wednesday, or whenever the shows were on. You can stream it. You can watch the whole series in an evening. There isn't that sort of collective thing of sitting down on a Saturday night and watching your favourite, watching an episode of Only Fools and Horses. Did you see it? Did you? Nowadays, you probably have seen it because you can stream it. And I think
binge watching is a thing now, isn't it? People will find
you don't have to wait. You don't. You don't have to wait.
The only
But also,
we talked about it before. The only things really that still hold that regularity that you must wait for the next one are the competitions, the bake-offs, the Strictly,
yeah, yeah.
I'm a Celeb, all those sort of things where that I guess where there is voting or there is some sort of jeopardy, and I don't mean in a negative
There's a
way.
storyline as well, isn't there? There's a storyline from if you think of I'm a Celebrity, you're watching a bit of drama in front of your face. That there's a storyline. On Tuesday, so and so was pissed off with so and so because they hogged the shower and didn't win the food or whatever. And then, is that argument going to develop during the week or whatever? So that there's instant drama. And if you're watching on YouTube, chaps, the sun has just shone right through my window.
I wasn't going to comment, but you have turned into a ghost.
I have rather, which is quite appropriate for Halloween. I'm going to lean over there. Look at that. There we are. But also, we don't have to watch people now doing things, because with TikTok and social media as it is, we can film ourselves. We can put ourselves. People are, excuse me. People are filming themselves and making 30-second comedy programs and putting them up. So in fact, if you're a TikTok fan or addict, you're watching real people in semi-real situations or real situations, but you are laughing at someone or laughing along with someone who was put there to be laughed at. They're going, look at me, I did something stupid on my bike or in my car or when I was gardening or with my cat. So we're actually not necessarily needing to create comedy or write it, the comedy writers or such, because it's already there. Everyday people are filming everyday things and we're laughing at them.
I was trying to think, what are there modern comedies that could fit into the dinner theatre sort of shape? So some of the most famous dinner theatre shows, the ones that we've been involved in previously or still currently, would be Only Fools and Horses, Fawlty Towers, Hello, Hello. Those are probably the three biggest that I personally, and I know you as well, have been involved in. Now, Fawlty Towers lends itself perfectly to something set in a hotel with a restaurant, because it is a programme about a hotel with a restaurant.
Yeah.
Fine. Fools and Horses, people tended to be sceptical about back when we were able to do it. But there were so many physical comedy elements, visual comedy elements in the 7 or 8 series that they did, that you could then bring those into a visual setting like a dinner, a restaurant, or a dinner venue. That would work. Hello, Hello is set in a cafe, so it lends itself to that. But there are other things that, there are some superb comedies. Something that sprang to mind, and I thought, could you do it? Friday Night Dinner.
I'm thinking exactly the same thing. You probably could, actually, yes.
But I'm not sure you could, because a lot of the comedy in that is around conversation. And it's brilliant. It's fantastic writing, but it is not necessarily a visual spectacle, because the whole point is they're all sat around a table most of the time talking.
And it's a family of 4 people, in essence.
Yeah.
Mum, dad, and the 2 boys.
I don't think you've got that physical element to it. Something like Gavin and Stacey, which actually is not modern
not now,
because it's been going for such a long time, and we've got, I think, one final one coming up this Christmas or whatever. But
again, I pray it's the final one. Please do. Not my favourite show. Not my favourite show. Not a fan, but there we go.
We won't go into that. We won't go.
Let's not go into that.
I have similar opinions about Mr. Corden. Anyway, the show itself is very, very well written, and there are some fabulous performers in it. Nonetheless, I don't think that would lend itself really to the dinner theatre setup. Again, maybe it's not slapstick enough. Maybe that is what's missing.
It's also, I think the great thing about, you mentioned Only Fools. The great thing about that is those characters can travel. We saw them in many, many situations, and they were in bars, they were in restaurants, they were in in their own home or whatever. But the strength of the character was you could put those those several characters in a group of people, and they would create comedy. There would be something happen. But with something like, I don't know, Gavin and Stacey or Friday Night Dinner, their comedy only happens within that group of people. Put them in a comedy dinner, they're not going to be laughed at. They're not going to be in the same way, because it is literally the situation comedy.
Yes. I mean,
it's very fascinating.
You could argue, I mean, we've done stuff like Mrs. Brown's Boys and One Foot in the Grave that worked. Again, through brilliant writing, very intuitive writing to allow it to work in that scenario. But, and they are fabulous shows, don't get me wrong, but not as popular as the ones that lend themselves to it more. Because the writing hasn't been, and I don't use this in the negative sense of the term, but hasn't been forced into that framework as much. I think modern comedy is fabulous, but I think, as we've said in the past, and as we said just a minute ago, the style is changing. Not maybe noticeably so to the consumer, because you're still getting the laughs and you're still finding these characters people you can watch, and you'll still have those moments where you go, oh, I do know someone like that, or yes, that's happened to us. But I don't think dinner theatre in that style can be adapted, or these modern shows can be adapted.
Yeah, subject matter is a lot more difficult to adapt, I think.
Yeah, it is.
It's interesting because I once did, and we talked about it a lot, but I think I mentioned it. On the continent, dinner theatre is very popular. A play is performed around 3 acts, around 3 courses, and you're on a stage, and people are sitting having dinner, watching you act. So they'll have their starter, and you're very much like we do. You'll have a scene, they'll have their starter, then the next scene, and and it's interspersed around. And I was touring the Mousetrap, and we got to one town, it was somewhere near Munich, I think, touring in Europe, and they said, "Oh, it's dinner theatre, isn't it?" And we were going, and we literally had to sit there, and we, by that time, we knew the play intimately.
Yeah.
But we had to split it up into 3 or 4 pieces, 4 little acts, so that they could have their dinner around it.
It's normally just 2, isn't it, Mousetrap? It's first act,
act 1, act 2, yeah. And so we had to kind of split it, and of course you're creating tension, and things are happening, and people don't leave that house or whatever. It was really odd. The audience, I have to say, they loved it. They loved the fact, but they also loved the fact that they could have their dinner at the same time. And I always think 50% of the experience is the fact that you're sitting there having dinner and a glass of wine. But of course, where interactive stuff now? He was talking about shows that comedy, but there's a lot of television shows that are now being adapted for the big interactive. Like Peaky Blinders and
we said, didn't we, in episode 1 about various things that are now immersive experiences.
Yeah.
And equally, secret cinema became really, really popular. I mean, they're a slightly different topic that we can look into at another point. There are so many things to go into. But what I would like to say is to our wonderful listeners and viewers, contact us with suggestions of modern shows that would work as dinner theatre. Because Drew and I have said there aren't any. That's a very blanket statement. Of course there will be, but we haven't been able to pluck any out of the air on the spot. So we'd love to hear what you think and what suggestions you have. And we could even, we've got various connections who write these sorts of things. We could even go and find out if they've considered them or...
Yeah.
But I would say that 99% of the stuff that I've heard suggested or that sounded like it could really work is all, I would say, pre-2000. Almost entirely.
Very interesting to see if anybody's got a little gem that we've missed. Be great.
Yeah, exactly. But
good, cool.
Yeah, an interesting one this week, mate, and a good topic, which we started in the past, but have managed to hear us start it in the past anyway. But,
yeah.
And there's so much else we could have talked about today, but I think we'll save some of those subjects for going forward. We've got a superb guest coming on next week. Really, really excited to see that person when they join us. There are various other things that people go, well, this is in the news at the moment. But yes, it is. Equally, don't think we're ignoring the fact that the budget has come out. It's Halloween, and the budget is possibly the scariest thing that's happened this week. But
yes,
we will go into that as well, because
we'll go into that.
Yeah, it deserves an entire thing, particularly when it's. I mean, at the time of recording, it's only recently been announced.
Yeah, wait for it to unravel a little bit.
So we're waiting for everything to develop properly. But for now, mate, I'm going to raise a glass to Ghostly Drew. It's sunny in well, it's essentially winter now, isn't it? So
yeah, look at that. I've gone again. I'm going to go like that. I'm getting
all right. Cheers, Ghostly Drew, and cheers, Normal Drew, and cheers. Can't even see anything on your mug. There's our faces are on your mug, and you can't see. It's just gone white in the lighting.
Yes, I'm white out.
Yeah. As always, thank you everyone for joining us.
Cheers, everyone.
Hope you found it entertaining. I hope you go and use your next 7 days, as said, to listen to every single episode previously if you haven't done already. But more importantly, come up with some shows that could be turned into dinner theatre.
Please do. We'd love to hear it.
Until next week, when we're joined by someone else, have a good one. See you later.
Take care, everyone.
Cheers.
Bye.
Thanks again for watching this episode of Drewling Samantics.
Please make sure you subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you never miss a new video.
Don't forget, we're also available as audio only. Just search Drewling Samantics in any good podcast app. And please support us on social media. All our links and handles are on screen now.
We love welcoming new followers and subscribers, so why not share with your family and friends so they can join in too? Thanks very much. See you next time.